Anyways, let me translate. Let me go through the song again for people who don't know. Shervin was arrested, and now after a lot of pressure, he was released shortly after for making the song. His crime was making the song, and again, he made the song by taking everyone's tweets when there was a viral trend going on Twitter among Iranians, saying on Twitter what were they protesting for, and they started baraye. Baraye in Persian means, the English translation is for. So it says baraye, and then they followed up by the reason they were protesting. Right. So the name of the song is baraye, which translates to for. So he collected a lot of these tweets of people saying why they're protesting for, and he turned it into a song that has now been turned into the anthem of all the protests. Right. So let's go through it line by line to see what the song is about. Okay, so the tweet says برای آزادانه رقصیدن تو کوچه پس کوچه‌های کشور. So the tweet says, so for dancing freely in back alleys and streets of Iran, right? So Shervin is saying, wait, hold on. For dancing in the streets, which is banned. So let me actually just read it off of the translation. I'll just read it off of the translation, and if I need any context, I will add to it, okay? So for fear you have when kissing one another, which is banned, also banned in Iran. You can't kiss publicly in the street. So for kissing. For my sister, for your sister, for our sisters. For the brains that have faded away, for the brains that have been brainwashed. For rotted brains. For rotted brains, I think it's relating to how the government and the regime has brainwashed and, Islamized a lot of people's minds. Okay, so the song is a little bit from what Shervin is saying, right? So the tweet and what Shervin is saying is a little bit different. So the tweet here says, for the father that has disappointed his family, because for the father who feels shame from his family because he can't provide from them, and for his back that has been broken. So he's working so hard to provide for his family under a lot of trouble, but he can't still under the current economic situation in Iran, he can still provide for his family. So he feels shame looking at his family. And Shervin is singing for experiencing shame, for being destitute, for poverty, basically. For poverty. So the tweet says for a normal life, and Shervin is saying for the envy of having an ordinary life. Oh, okay. So for the child who plays, okay, so there are children in Iran who look into trash to find something that they could sell, right? They call them kudek zobalagar. It's for those kids, beggars in the streets, basically, begging children who look in the garbage for food or something that they could sell. For command economics, right? So for the current economic situation in Iran, which is caused by command economic policies, which is enforced by strict laws from top down. So for this, hold on. For this air that is polluted. So I don't know if you guys know the bad policies of the regime over has made Tehran's air very, very polluted. So much so that the sky is always, gray from the pollution. So it says for this polluted air. So for Valias is a very famous street in Iran, a very famous boulevard in Tehran. It says for Valias, and it was that street was built during the Shah's time, right? And it's depressed trees. I think this might be because somebody who can go back to Iran and misses Tehran and misses the trees of Valias Street. This is for Piruz and the chances of him going extinct. This was a cheetah, or leopard or cheetah? I think a leopard. So there was a leopard in Iran who had 3 babies, and this animal is endangered in Iran, right? And people are crying over Piruz. This guy has a famous story, right? I think there was 3 of them. Correct, Nelly? Am I right, Nelly? There was 3 of them, and even though this animal is going extinct and it's endangered in Iran, so the fact that the mother had 3 children was very precious, and very important, and 2 of them died under the mismanagement of the officials that were supposed to take care of him, right? And Piruz was the last one left, and people were comparing the mismanagement of what's happening. Like they're comparing Piruz, which is the name of this little guy here, and his siblings. They're comparing to Iran that is dying under the mismanagement of the regime. So this tweet is saying for Piruz and the chances of him going extinct. Oh, this one, it says for the dogs. Hold on. For innocent dogs that are banned. So in Iran, dogs are banned, right? And they gathered up in places like this and shot to death. There are videos of places where they gather them and the government officials shoot them in the head, right? And kill them all in masses, right? So, and this is one of those places that they gather them. So this is saying for illegal dogs, for dogs that are banned. Oh, it's a cheetah. Okay. Oh, you guys, I'm sorry. So yeah, in Islam, they're also, the reason why they're banned is because it's un-Islamic. In Islam, dogs are considered najas, which means religiously unclean, and that's why you're not allowed to have them, and that's why they gather them and kill them. So the tweet says for the endless tears that we have every night, and Shervin is singing for endless tears, or untimely tears, untimely tears or endless tears. I don't know which one is a better translation. Oh, this next one is kind of okay. This next one requires an explanation. So Shervin is singing for imagining this moment repeating itself. For basically what it means is for imagining, for wishing that I could have this moment back one more time. For being able to imagine it again, having this moment back, right? And the picture that is showing is posted by Hamid, which is the guy who organized the protests in Toronto and across the world that so many Iranians showed up. His daughter and wife were killed in the airplane that the regime shut down, the Ukrainian flight that the regime shut down, right? and with 2 missiles, right? Passenger plane. So many people, and ever since then, he's been on a battle to try to get justice for his family. So this is him with his daughter, and this is the daughter that died in that plane, right? So his tweet is saying, let's see the translation. Yeah, his tweet is saying, for the heartache of wanting to, of this moment that you put on the heart of a father. So, and Sherman is saying, for wishing of repeating this scene, this image. Oh, this one is beautiful. Okay, so the tweet says, for the day that we all can put our real pictures on our profile pictures with smiling faces, like pictures of smiling, real pictures of our smiling faces on our profile pictures, right? Because they can't show who they really are on Twitter because they're in Iran, and they could be, if they're known who they are, they could be arrested and or worse, right? And he's hoping for one day that they could all be free and just like not having to worry about hiding who they really are, right? So that's what the tweet says, and Sherwin is singing for pictures of smiling faces. So for the students, for the future. Okay, this is short, but so much. This one is so short, but says so much, okay? So it says, for this mandatory heaven. So Sherwin is singing for Baraya in Behesht Ejbari, for this mandatory heaven. I don't know how to explain that. So in Iran, one problem have with the regime is that why are Islamic values, your Islamic values is yours. Why are you forcing it upon us, right? And there's a famous line from a movie that one of these mullahs has said that we will take you to heaven even by force if we have to, right? So they have this ideology where this is the way people go to heaven, and a lot of Iranian people are not choosing that ideology, and they want to, and the Iranian people are like, keep your heaven to yourself. If we don't want to go there. If you think that's the way to go there, just do what you have to do. And they're saying like, no, we will drag you there kicking and screaming. And people are saying they see that the lifestyle that they have, the hell that they have to live through right now, is so that the regime wants to take them to this imaginary heaven, even if they don't believe in it, by force. So they call it a mandatory heaven. Let me see if this is the translation they have. Yeah, for this mandatory heaven. Yeah, people. So Nelly is, I think, Persian as well. So thank you for being here, Nelly, because I need help right now. Yeah, for effing mandatory heaven where we are forced to go there. From the for the imprisoned intellectuals, right? Because a lot of intellectuals in Iran, the people who have free thinkers, people who say things, a lot of educated people who fight for liberty, they go to prison. I remember even when I was I remember like this is more than a decade ago. This was like more than I think 20 years ago, I think even like 15 years at least. That even back then, when my mom drove the car and we would pass Evin prison. Evin is a very famous prison in Tehran. Every time we passed it, my mom would say, instead of saying Evin prison, she would say Evin University. Like, oh, we're passing Evin University. She would say it in the car because they have arrested so many intellectuals that people dubbed it as like the Evan University, because there's more professors and educated people in there than universities, right? So this one says for the imprisoned intellectuals. For Afghani children. So Afghan children are treated very poorly in Iran. A lot of them don't have even documents that would entitle them to education or healthcare or even an identity. And they live, Afghani children. You know how minorities are treated very poorly in Iran? Afghani children are some of the worst treated minority groups of people in Iran. Like they don't get any, very few of them get any form of protection or support. Like, you know how, for example, people complain about the situation where some Mexican immigrants or some other Latin Americans immigrants live in United States or some other places, or like maybe Africans in Europe. So imagine that, but 1,000 times worse about the Afghan refugees that come to Iran. Their lives are really hard. So this is for the Afghani children. Okay, this is so beautiful. I don't know how to translate this. This is برای این همه برای غیر تکراری, means for all these fours that are not repeated. None. Let me see how for the multitudes of fordes. So what he's saying is that like there's so many people are saying baraye, and they're not repetitive. Like people are not, a lot of them are not the same. That means for all these fordes that are not repetitive, that means there are so many things, so that there's so multitude of things that people are protesting for. Like when people ask why are Iranian people are protesting for, it's not one or two things. It's not 10 things. It's a million different things. So if you look at the tweets where people say, I'm protesting for this, for this, for this, for that, you will see that it's an endless list and they're not repetitive. So that's what this is saying. It says for these non-repetitives for this. Oh, okay. So the tweet says, برای تمامی شعارهای مرگ بر که به دانش آموزان رو مجبور کردم. Like so when I was a student in Iran, we were forced to like chant death to America, death to Israel, death to, I don't know, death to so many things, right? And we didn't mean it. We just had to say it because it's just mandatory to say it, right? And the tweet says for all these chants of death to that the students were forced to chant, right? So, and Sherwin is saying for all these empty chants and slogans, basically. Yeah, or fake promises. So the tweet says, for all the, I don't know, pushali means like straw man, or like made out of straw, but how do you translate it to flimsy houses? I think it would be flimsy as a good translation. So yeah, pushali means made out of straw. So in Iran, a lot of houses are built with such low standards that they fall and kill a lot of people who live in it, right? So this person is saying for all these flimsy houses that you built in the past 40 years that fell upon people's heads. And Sherwin is singing for the destructions of all these fabricated homes. I mean, hold on. Let me see. For the destruction of all these flimsy, weak houses. Collapsing, yeah, for the collapsing of all these houses. For feeling peace, for the feeling of peace, for the shining of the sun after a long night. So this one is purely symbolic. It's just like basically meaning that when the revolution comes, like basically all of these days are actually nights. Like Iranian people are living at a night, and daybreak will finally come when the regime falls. So this tweet is saying for sunshine after a very, very long night, a 40-year long night. For stress pills and sleepless nights. Basically, people are having so much stress and anxiety. Okay, so the tweet has both of them. So the protests have two chants. The one that started it was Zan Zindagi Azadi, which means woman, life, freedom. And now a lot of women came and completed the chant with Mad Mihan Abadi, which means man, nation, prosperity, right? So now Shervin is only singing the second part because the main chant, which is the first part, he's leaving that for the very end of the song, right? So you can see that the tweet says I think this tweet was the tweet that started the second part of that created the second part of the chant, because this tweet is introducing it. It's saying, and it got like 22,000 likes. So I'm assuming that this tweet was what created the second part of the chant. He's saying, in the same way that woman, life, freedom, we have man, nation, prosperity. And Shervin is singing for man, nation, prosperity, right? And he's not singing the first part because that's the main part, and he's leaving it at the very end, especially because a lot of people just said for freedom. And he wants to leave the last part for the end, so when he says woman, life, freedom, then he could show how many people, that a lot of people just said for freedom. So the tweet says, for all the girls that in their life at least once wish that they were a boy, right? Because they see what the situation is and the way that they're controlled and told what to be, what to wear, how to behave, and what to be like in Iran, and they wish they were boys at least once. So that's what the tweet says. And Shervin is singing for the girl who wished that she was a boy. So this is the end. This is close to the end of the song, and he's ending it with the main chant, which is Baraye Zan Zindagi Azadi, and then he follows it with a lot of other tweets that just say Baraye Azadi, which means for freedom. Apparently, that was the main chant. Okay, the main thing people were asking for, their most repetitive one, was for freedom. So let's just see. This is Baraye Zan Zindagi Azadi, and then he goes Baraye Azadi, and then continues Baraye Azadi, Baraye Azadi. برای دختری که آرزو داشت پسر بود برای زن زندگی آزادی. Okay, so there's that. That took a while, but I think it was important. I hope like these give you some context. Guys, please go and look at the tweets with the hashtag Mahsa Amini on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and maybe just share them. The more attention this gets internationally, the more pressure the regime feels. Right now, this is having a major international influence. nothing has managed to disarm the regime internationally more than this ever since the revolution. Like, and they didn't see this coming. This has been a major blow to the power of the regime. And it's because of you guys who are sharing the story, right? Because of all the people, because of the international attention. If this story was only staying in Iran, it wouldn't have an impact. The regime needs this international soft power, and this has taken it away from them more than anything I can remember. So please just keep sharing the story, right? To have your questions answered on the next live stream, become my patron today. You can do so with as little as $1 a month. Link in the description below.